I'm George Wrighster. He's Ralph Amsden, and this is Wrighster or Wrong. So last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they won the championship, baby. Or at least that's what you would have thought by the way that they celebrated, bro. It was outrageous. They went way too far. Yeah, it was lame. Like it crossed the territory into lame. Um, yeah, and people deserve to be making fun of them for that. Cam Newton was on a Barstool podcast and he said some things that got people fired up about women. They were like, he hates women. And I'm like, why do you care? Like, why is this a big deal to you? Let that sink in. Tom Brady, he is he was rumored to be going to the Miami Dolphins. Remember that rumor? Oh, he's going to Miami? Well, Ben Volin came out and said that it was actually deeper than that. He was going to go to the front office for a year and then transition to be their quarterback. Bruh, do we believe it? And a 10-year-old bat flipped and did his gritty on the back end, and I loved it. And snowflake baseball fans are clutching their pearls everywhere. But we are going to start with what happened last night because we were sitting there watching the NBA play-in, and the T Wolves beat the Clippers because the Clippers are a poverty franchise. What else did you expect? They just got beat by another poverty franchise, and the T Wolves they celebrated like it was 1999, bro. Pat Bev jumped up on the damn. He jumped up on the scorer's table, shouting like he was MJ or Kobe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dude. And then he took his shirt off, his jersey off, threw it in the crowd. Carl Anthony Towns kissing Jordan Woods after playing like trash. Pat Bev crying on the way to you would have thought he was Kevin Garnett and like a lifelong Timberwolf. It was, dude, they deserved all the ridicule that they got last night. Pat Bev showed up to the damn press conference with a beer. Like they were celebrating in the locker room. I understand this is only the second playoff trip in 18 years, but Pat Bev wasn't there for any of it. Any of it. Carl Anthony Towns is over there kissing Jordan Woods like they've been together for like 20 years when like he was with when he was messing around with when she was messing around with Tristan Thompson, like 18 months ago? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what the hell are the Timberwolves doing celebrating like this? Not even an actual playoff series win, but getting in the playoffs.
I liked it.
Are you serious?
I thought it was fun. As maybe it's because I root for a poverty franchise, and maybe it's because I really, really can't stand the Clippers. Like, so I thought you'd be cool with it because you are the biggest Clippers hater I've ever met in my entire life. But like, and what sucks is like a lot of my angst toward the Clippers is Pat Bev related. So it's like I can't. I can't be too happy for the T Wolves. Pat Bev went 2 for 8 and was -5. I just want to point that out.
Dude, but he was still better than Carl Anthony Towns.
He was.
He only played 28 minutes, scored 11 points, and fouled out. Dude, he was a menace to his own team.
The T-Wolves have been in the basement for a really long time. The entire state has had like nothing good in the history. They got to be worse than Arizona. Like I put Arizona up there as pretty snake bitten as far as all the pro sports franchises. But like the only thing that Arizona and Minnesota have going for them is both of their WNBA franchises are like the class of the league over the last 15, 20 years. Other than that, that's it. That's it. And so like I've got a little bit of sympathy there. I like Anthony Edwards. I like Carl Anthony Towns. It's funny to me that players that were given up on by certain LA teams are out thriving in Minnesota. And also I know they're going to get their lunch eaten in the playoffs. And so I'm not like they can celebrate. They can celebrate. That's fine. It was fun. It was funny. There's like a lot of funny takes that came out of it, so I'm glad it happened. But I'm not mad at them. I just thought like that's how Pat Bev always acts. That's how he always acts. He like broke Chris Paul's arm and then did a weird dance last year in the playoffs. If you remember, this is how he always is. And so if the team wants to follow suit and follow his leadership, that's they're going to be gone after the first round of the playoffs anyway. So I'm not super worried about them. But the rest of the team, I enjoy. The state has been just in hell. And just let them have their fun.
And Pat Bev is enjoying this, dude, because he doesn't normally go to the podium after, like, he's not the podium guy after games.
He hit two shots.
And he got to go to the podium. Hey, and Josiah
Why?
Johnson at King Josiah 54, dude. Funniest one is that how Pat Bev walking around Minnesota today with like Tom Brady getting carried out after the championship, and then he posted another one last night. Pat Bev after beating the Clippers. It was the Kevin Garnett. Anything is possible. After they won the championship, bro.
What if you're the Clippers though? You shipped Pat Bev out. And then he comes back. And first of all, I had a fundamental misunderstanding of how the play-in works. So, like, I was like, hell yeah. The Timberwolves knocked Marcus Morris Sr. and the Clippers out. Like, Pandemic P is done for. The Clippers are a failed experiment. And then I had people in my mentions that were like, no, the Clippers are still alive. I was like,
they just got to win against. So, in case you guys don't know either, the 7 plays the 8 seed. The winner is automatically in. Because the 7 and 8 seed would have been in the playoffs under the old format. Then the loser of the 7-8 game plays the winner of the 9-10 game for the 8 seed. So are we on the same page now, Ralph?
We are on the same page. And it does make me feel good knowing with the Suns having the 1 seed that the Spurs would have to win twice to get in the playoffs, because I have so much PTSD from the 7 seconds or less era and Greg Popovich that I don't care that they're 13 games under 500. I don't want to see San Antonio in the playoffs. I don't want to.
Well, you may get the Clippers, and then that will make you happy too.
I just seeing Marcus Morris Sr. sad brings me joy on the court, not in life. I don't care about that, but on the court, watching him lose is nice for me.
Yeah. Hello? Testing. Ralph. Can you hear me now? So weird. I can't hear you now. Hold on a second.
All right, We're back.
Okay.
So good news. That was probably the most brutal 30 seconds in podcast history because I tried to carry it solo and I might have been on mute.
You were on mute. That's why I couldn't hear you.
It's like a Marcus Morris Sr. slander, and then immediately the whole podcast cuts out.
Yeah.
He's apparently one of the Morris family is our engineer.
Exactly. All right. So speaking of celebrations, though, this happened and it sent snowflake baseball Twitter into chaos. A 10-year-old hit a bomb in a baseball game. And mind you, I'm a baseball dad. So this was exciting to me. I remember when my kid hit his first home run. I don't think this is the kid's first home run, but this was dope. So the kid jogged around 3 bases and then grittied on the way home for about 2 seconds. And
Very,
people were like,
very
I would beat him with the ball. He'd get a fastball at his head the next. He's 10 years old, first thing. They're like, have respect for the game. I think that is absolutely showing respect for the game because he didn't point at the pitcher and be like, like he didn't hit him with that. He was celebrating with his teammates on the way home. He's looking at his teammates. His teammates are at home plate cheering. This is what baseball is supposed to be about. Baseball is supposed to be fun, but you have all these snowflakes trying to make it soft, just trying to make baseball just boring and terrible. And that's why nobody wants to watch under the age of 50 wants to watch it on television aside from the playoffs.
I think we have different definitions of respect because, like, think about it. Because you and I were on the phone earlier today talking about Michelin star restaurants and all that. Let's say that you go to a Michelin star restaurant and they bring out your entree and they set it on the table and you take that first bite and you're like, God dang, this is good. And the chef's like, have respect for the food. Just eat it and be quiet. Like, I am respecting the food. I'm letting you know that I like it. Like, having fun playing baseball is respect for the game. That is what it is. If you're saying have respect for your opponent by not showing them up, like, it's not about them.
Correct.
It's not about them. Especially, and I know we're parsing things here, but third to home, there was no bat flip. There's no bat flip.
And I'm in on bat flips. I am 100% in on bat flips.
I definitely don't care. And I think one of the ways that would make me a lifelong baseball fan, one of the ways that would get me even more invested in baseball is because you got the walk-up music, right? You get the walk-up music that kind of gets people hyped. Then you're just supposed to hit a home run and then like jog around the bases and stare down at the dirt the whole way. Also, as somebody who can be an annoying troll sometimes, the high road sometimes is the most disrespectful thing. Hitting a 500-foot bomb off somebody and then acting like it doesn't matter is the same kind of troll shit as handing the ball to the referee after scoring a touchdown.
Yeah.
People will say like, oh, they're just acting like they've been before. That's real respect for the game. Like, no, what they're telling you is this is light work.
Yes,
this is light
exactly.
work. And them hitting a 500-foot bomb off you, like, that's just another day at the ballpark. You don't matter to them. They'll never think of
that
you
was
again.
Supposed to happen. Like it's like punching a baby.
Yeah, I genuinely, like, I think that people who don't react to home runs is a reaction. But here's what I think. I think you should be able to flip the bat. I think third to home should be a party. Always.
Yes.
It should always be a party. And defensively, if you turn 2, you should get to have like some handshake or something like that. And if you get a guy for the second time, you strike out a guy twice, you should get 5 seconds to do whatever you want.
Dude, no, I'm going after every strikeout, like the pitcher should.
Every strikeout.
Hey, the pitcher should be like. That's what I would do if I were a pitcher. I'd be like, and if he hit a home run off me, guess what? All right, cool. All right, I got something for your ass next time. Be like,
oh yeah, I'm gonna do the same dance. I'm gonna do the same dance they did going from third to home. I'm gonna make fun of them.
Yeah, on the way home. Like, imagine if I strike you out to end the game, and you have anybody on your team that's been talking trash. We are gritting on the way out of that joker, buddy.
I try to imagine being in the crowd of like, and you're down 2 runs, right? 2 on, bottom of the 9th. Batter comes up and just blasts one, and it's a walk-off home run. And the entire crowd gets to their feet, and they're all screaming and cheering, and just being in the crowd looking around and be like, "Why are you cheering? Act like you've been here before. Everybody sit down." Everybody file out to your car silently.
Yes. Act like you won a game before. Have respect. Do not show up the opponent with all that damn cheering people.
absolutely show up the opponent, celebrate. But again, just make it about you. Don't necessarily make it about them. And that pent up aggression is the type I always thought like Roger Clemens throwing a bat at Mike Piazza. Like just imagine if they let Roger Clemens celebrate any one of his
Oh my God.
4,000 career strikeouts, then maybe he wouldn't be hurling a deadly weapon at Mike's head.
Dude,
Like
oh, okay. So this happened this weekend, right? So where my daughter had a volleyball tournament in Las Vegas.
which
And
volleyball they celebrate after literally every point.
yes, every single point. So this happened. The girls collaborated something, and mind you, it's 11U volleyball. Some of the their club organization is really good. They won the entire. This is a national tournament. Kids from all over the country. One of the biggest tournaments. Indianapolis is the only one that's really bigger, I guess. And that's like the national finals. And so on Saturday, which was the second day, the girls had some kind of way collaborated the night prior, and they said, and then whenever the other team would get a side out in the first game, they would go, "You out, you out, you out," and point at the other team. All of us were like, "God, what are you doing?" And it was hilarious to me because they're like, "You out, you out, you out," and they were just pointing at him. I was like, "Damn!" I was like, "Do you want to fight after the game?" And their coach after the first game, well, after the first match, because they had 3 that day. He must have told him, he was like, "Listen, don't point at them. Do your celebration." So then they would like huddle up and be on the ground and they'd be like, "You out, you out, you out," on like to themselves in their little huddle to the ground. And that felt way more appropriate because I was like, whoa, whoa, you want to ramp up the intensity in this joint? That's how to do it.
I just female sports, they coordinate the chatter.
Yes.
And you and I, we've briefly mentioned softball on this podcast.
Oh my. Oh God,
Damn.
the incessant chanting is what it's the chanting for me. I can't. I have nightmares about the chanting.
I'm not built to go up against somebody who has a song about how much I suck ready to go when I fail. Like if somebody is acting out of emotion toward me when they show me up or they beat me, I understand. But when somebody like got together the night before to get ready for my demise, like to me, that's preying on my downfall and then being ready to pounce when it happens. And so that type of stuff is vicious. I'm not saying that I'm against it. I'm just saying I might be a little too soft to handle striking out at a softball game.
Yeah.
And what would happen on the walk back to the dugout?
All right. Speaking of too soft though, Cam Newton was on $1 million worth of game, and he said this about women, and it sent people into a tizzy, boy.
I had a perfect example of what a man was in my life by my father. My parents has been together for 36, 37 years now, and it's a beautiful thing. I grew up in a 3-parent household, my mom, my father, and my grandmother. And I knew what a woman was, not a bad bitch.
Okay, what's the difference?
A woman.
Okay.
A bad bitch is a person who's just, girl, I'm a bad bitch. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I look the part, but I don't act the part.
Okay.
And it's a lot of women who are bad bitches. And I say bitches in a way, not to degrade a woman, but just to go off the aesthetic of what they deem is a boss chick. Now, a woman for me is handling your own, but knowing how to cater to a man's needs, right? And I think a lot of times when you get that aesthetic of like, I'm a boss bitch, like I'm a this, I'm a that, no, baby, like, but you can't cook.
Okay.
You don't know when to be quiet. You don't know how to allow a man to lead.
Okay, so that got people all upset. Oh my God, Cam Newton this, Cam Newton that. And I'm like, why do you care if you're not trying to date or marry Cam Newton? Why do you care? Dude, he didn't, to me, that didn't feel like a degrading of women. That felt like Cam Newton has a preference. Listen, I just watched a black dude on a leash at a wedding with a white woman, like leading him around on a leash. He's on all fours. He's pretending to be a puppy. And this is like fur baby love or something. Like this is, he likes the S&M being humiliated. And I'm like, people were like, oh my God, get that black man. And I'm like, that ain't for me. But if he's happy, why do I care? Because if Cam Newton finds a woman that is happy with the role that he wants and she's happy with the role that he's playing, why do I care? It ain't my house. Like if he starts hitting her, cussing her out, all of this stuff, like degrading her, any of this, like I'm not letting you work, I'm not letting you do anything, that's a different story. But if they're comfortable in their roles, I mean, that's like women who work being destroying stay-at-home moms, or stay-at-home moms destroying coming at working moms. Like if that works for your family, if the dad staying at home because the mom is so great at her job or whatever, then that's what it is. Like whatever works for that person's family. Why do I care about what Cam Newton is talking about his relationship preferences?
Okay. Story time. So I'm on the phone with my guy Chili. You know Chili.
Yeah.
And this video comes across the timeline. And I tell him, I got to send this to George because this is inevitably going to be a show topic. So I send the video to you. And then he said, what video? And I was like, oh, I'll send it to you too. So I sent it to him. A couple of minutes go by and he's like, I didn't get it. And I was like, I sent it. And he's like, well, I didn't get it. So I go and check to see if I had DM'd him the video on Twitter, and I hadn't. But I remember sending it. I remember hitting share, send. Before I can resend him the video, I get a text message from my wife that says, yeah, I'm not clicking on this. I sent that Cam Newton video to my wife without any context. And the subheading is like a real woman knows when to be quiet and let a man lead. I sent that to my wife with no context whatsoever. Trying to send it to Chili, and the response I got was like, I'm not clicking this. And I was like, oh no.
She thought you were trying to send her a message.
My God. Can you imagine? And so, because I am not in that type of situation, and I am, I'm raised by somebody who was deeply ingrained in the Christian tradition. I think he's the son of a pastor. So is my wife, and you would think that maybe traditional gender roles would come out of that, but that's not necessarily our arrangement. That's not necessarily everybody kind of has their own thing, right? And
Correct.
So I see where you're coming from when you say that, and this is coming off another conversation that you and I had where somebody tweeted. Are married couples that send Venmo repayments for coffee to each other okay? And I was like, well, the one thing you don't do is speak on how married people handle their finances, because you don't know what blood, sweat, and tears went in to get them to the point where they'd even be happy enough to stay in a relationship when finances are involved. Because that's one of the hardest things in the entire world.
Correct. Yeah.
And if you're single, you just don't know. And I'm not going to fault you for having that opinion. I'm just saying, until you have tried to manage finances alongside somebody else, you don't know what there is to learn about yourself, the other person, what trauma they might have gone through as a child when it comes to how their family handled finances.
Yep.
You might have some stuff come up on how your parents fought in front of you about money when you were 4, and you just subconsciously soaked it in, and then all of a sudden I tweeted, I was like, it'd be like your wife going to the store and bringing back Kroger brand peanut butter. And you're like, you don't think I'm good enough for Skippy? And she's like, I was just trying to save money. We don't have any money. These stuff, things that you didn't even know were inside you. So what people desire in a partner, and what people desire in a partner, and they choose to lead their lives to be a happy couple is something that I think should be left alone. However, defining a woman, especially when you're Cam Newton and you've been in that, in you got criticized for how you handled a question from Jordan Rodriguez in a press conference when you talked about women talking about routes hits your ear funny. When you say that, like, in order to be a woman, you have to know when to be quiet, that's not going to be received well, George.
Correct.
It's just not.
I understand it's not going to be received well, but like, okay, if we're keeping it one hundo, right?
Right.
When I talk to my daughters, right? Well, actually, I'll say what I talk to my sons about first is de-escalation, about like understanding when to say, listen, I need to walk away from this conversation for a minute, like, and we can pick it up later because the it's raising up way too high and things are gonna go left, and I don't want that, right? And I tell my daughters, I'm like, if you're ever in a situation with a man and you may be 100% right and things start escalating to a certain place, you gotta not back down, because I'm not expecting you to cower or anything like that. I'm just saying, for your own personal safety, that you need to say, all right, hold up, let me de-escalate it. So it's the same conversation, except for my daughters. Not trying to have my daughter try to defend herself against a man, like physically. Like, you need to, if it feels like it's heightening, you need to be like, nah, I'm out. Let's take a break. Let's talk about this later, or let's not talk about anything ever again. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
That there is an element of that you have to understand, like, in certain situations, that you need to say, okay, hold up. This is now becoming a danger for me. Like, I'm a big man. I know how to fight. I've boxed. I've done all of this stuff. However, if somebody else has a gun, I am going to probably handle the situation differently than if they don't. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the same way. So listen.
We're coming out of 6,000 years of programming where parents thought doing the right thing by their daughter was find a way to make yourself the most desirable specimen possible, emotionally, physically, whatever you can do that, right? And we're finally coming around to the space where it's like, or be yourself.
Yeah.
Be yourself,
Yeah.
because it's a big-ass world.
And here's the thing is a woman supposed to cater to her man? Absolutely, 100%. But is the man also supposed to protect, provide, be emotionally there for his wife and all of those things? And you can call that catering or whatever as well too. Absolutely, that's how you have a successful relationship.
Yeah.
So the idea, oh, she's not supposed to cater. Yes, she is. And yes, he is supposed to be a good man to her too. Like, let's stop acting like getting caught up on the stuff like this.
If you want a partner.
Correct.
If
bingo. If.
Which you don't have to want any of that. You don't have to want any of that. And so I officiate weddings sometimes. I've done like 9 or 10 of them. And one of the things that I say every time, which is actually like some of the things that I say are my values, are things that I'm actually attempting to have be my values. This one very specific thing is a value of mine, and it's something that I try to impart to my sons. I always tell my sons, the most important thing to me is that you don't talk back to your mom, that you don't fight with your mom, because you have to get used to the idea that there are not wins and losses. Those do not exist in a family relationship. You can't keep score. And that's one of the things that I talk about when I do weddings is, everybody gets mad about the idea of participation trophies, but love is a participation trophy. It doesn't keep score. It doesn't keep account of right or wrongs. It's automatically forgiving at all times, right? So if you're in a loving relationship with somebody, you're not trying to one up them, you're not trying to be better than them, you're not trying to win. What you're trying to do is have a functional relationship with that person. And I think when Cam Newton comes out and he says, like, this is what I'm looking for, and Cam Newton's own family situation might suggest that he has never found what he's looking for, and that's
Yeah.
another topic for another time that we probably shouldn't speak on. But when he says, like, this is the type of thing that I find desirable in a woman, like that, I would hope that it could just be received as like, that has literally nothing to do with me. However, thinking like that, because there is this huge amount of pressure that's been put on women for as long as women have existed to acquiesce to whatever that societal pressure is, and we see that more often than not in like body shapes, right? Because like when we were teenagers, it was like starve yourself until you almost die. And
Yeah, and now you want
and
to be thicker than a Snicker.
yeah,
But
yeah,
but I don't even
exactly.
think they're doing it for men. I think a lot of it is for other women. But all right,
Thanks, Instagram.
the last thing though, Tom Brady, according to Ben Volin, that he was going to go to Miami because remember we started hearing before he after he came back that it was possible he could go to Miami, get traded there, all of that stuff. But now we starting to hear more of the details of that speculation, that it's actually him, that he was going to take a high level position in the Miami franchise for a year and then transition to be their quarterback. And then they were going to have Sean Payton come out of retirement and coach them. That sounds like 50 moving parts that was never going to work,
It sounds
even
like
if it
fan
was
fiction.
true. Yeah.
It sounds like fan fiction. It doesn't, dude. I don't know about this because let's say you're watching NASCAR and somebody crashes on the first lap, right? Were you
Yep.
gonna like write a whole story on what they would have done if they would have won?
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
like they would have passed these three guys, then they would have won, then they would have celebrated
on.
like this, then they would have signed a contract with another team owner, and then they would have got this sponsorship from Coca-Cola, then they would have turned that Coca-Cola thing into this. Like it just you're talking about so many things that didn't happen. You're talking about ideas that never came to fruition. It's weird because then you're reporting an alternate reality as fact.
Yeah. Dude, and what happens? What actually happens if Tua plays really, really well? So then you're gonna scrap Tua if he turns out to have a Josh Allen season? Are you gonna scrap Tua? I mean, there are so many moving parts that could derail that plan. What happens if he go to Miami and his contract didn't toll because he still had another year left, and then Tampa's like, no. If he's coming out of retirement, he's coming to us, pal. I mean, like, how does that? Like, it's just so many moving parts that could have destroyed that. And they said it was the allegations surrounding Brian Flores and the paying to lose surrounding the owner that stopped that from happening. And I'm like, bro, there's no way that was the thing that stopped it from happening. Tom Brady just didn't want to sit out a year. This didn't feel like reality to begin with. Like you said, fan fiction.
Until Tom Brady or Sean Payton says that this was true, I can't even like. I don't know. Man, maybe Stephen Ross is just getting desperate after decades of subpar quarterback play in a quarterback league. After everybody talking about Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees, after everybody talking about Marino never being the best quarterback to never get a ring. They entertained Deshaun Watson for a whole year. Maybe this Tom Brady thing is true. But where it loses me, George, is that Tom Brady chased Bruce Arians out of Tampa. That's where it loses me.
Yes. Dude,
because
there's no way that is true because if you see what Tom Brady said about him on the way out, you know that there's not a single chance that that's true.
You really think that whole staff who Bruce Arians has had their back through thick and thin, you really think that whole staff is ready to turn on Arians and support Tom Brady just because he's Tom Brady? Like, and do you really think Mr. I don't give a shit Bruce Arians would be bullied?
Not a chance. Not a chance. The same kid that was the same dude that was like F them kids. You know what I mean? Ain't no way.
He's Bruce Arians is the kind of guy that where he's like, if I'm not enjoying this as much as humanly possible, then it's time to go. And there could be a multitude of factors in there, but the idea that somebody else would be responsible for pushing Bruce Arians out, the guy like literally has nobody to impress, and that's the best thing about him. I refuse to believe that part, and it colors how I feel about the rest of it. It's a fun story, Mike Florio and Ben Volin. You got a fun thing to consider. You got like a Doctor Strange alternate reality, what if Marvel thing going on, but I just don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't buy it either, but we will see if it comes true. You guys, I'm George Wrighster. He's Ralph Amsden. This is Wrighster or Wrong. Share it with a friend, the greatest podcast